Sports at this moment. This is the final press conference for an event Saturday night that is beyond belief. 2 world-class promoters, 2 world-class teams supporting their fighters, and 2 world champions, both with undefeated records, go head-to-head Saturday Night Live on Sky Sports box office. And it's all brought to you by Mr. Barry McGuigan for Cyclone Promotions and Mr. Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Promotions, along with William Hill Vegas and JD Sports. Well, there's such a thing as the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, and I guess most sports fans understand what that means. And there are fights and events that sometimes are represented as the potential to be good, the potential to be great, and then there are fights that have the potential to be legendary. And here to tell you all about it is the head of boxing for Sky Sports, Mr. Adam Smith.
Thanks very much, Michael. Well, we know it's a big fight when Michael Buffer is in town. A very warm welcome to this final press conference. The media tour seems a distant memory now. We're nearly there. A mouth-watering 50-50 clash that has been years in the making. On Saturday night at the sold-out Manchester Arena, IBF Super Bantamweight champion Carl Frampton in this electric unification with the WBA king Scott Quigg. 52 wins, 37 knockouts between them. Live on Sky Sports box office Saturday night. We're live on Sky Sports News now. Let's get down to Andy Burton to ask a few questions.
Thank you. Yes, we are live on Sky Sports News HQ, so let's keep our language in check today. Carl, we'll start with you as the man who goes first on the Frampton Quigg billing. It is Frampton Quigg, so we'll start with you. What do you feel, Carl, is going to separate you two as fighters in the ring on Saturday night, from your point of view, to see you come out victorious?
I just believe I'm a better fighter than him. It's plain and simple. In every single department, I just think I'm a little bit better than Scott. No disrespect to him, I believe he's a good fighter. It's something that I've believed for years now, ever since I started calling him out 4.5, maybe 5 years ago, that I'm a better fighter, and I still believe that today.
Same question to you, Scott Quigg. What do you feel will separate you, and why will you be victorious on Saturday night?
Exactly the same, man. So that's why I've got to fight like this. So I believe I'm better in every department. Nobody does what I do. You know, the way I've lived from, since I dropped out of school and dedicated my life to the sport. This is it, and from that point, that's why I believe I'm better in every department, and that'll show on the night.
Carl, you talked a little bit about making weight. I think in the build-up to this fight, you many things done better in the build-up to the last fight that you had. Can you talk a little bit about what you've changed, if anything, in the build-up to this one? And is making weight at this level any kind of problem for you?
Well, because of the magnitude of this fight, everything needed to be perfect. I took a serious approach, more serious than any other fight I've taken in the past. I had a check weigh-in with the Board of Control yesterday, and my weight was fine. I've just done it right, done everything right this time, simply because I knew I had to, because it's a big fight. I don't want to lose, and that's the bottom line.
Scott, how's it been for you in terms of getting to the weight? Do you expect to be bigger than Carl on the night when you actually get into the ring, and will that be an advantage if so?
I do the weight. Always, dedicated, disciplined, and so this fight was no different. I believe I'll be the bigger man in the ring, but it's not me being bigger that's going to make me win this fight. It's my ability and my boxing brain that's going to win this fight.
Carl, in the last hour or two, we've had a little sort of rumbling from backstage about potentially discussions over who gets what dressing room, and potentially that being an issue. Can you just tell us what that's all about, please?
It's a bit of a laughing matter on my part anyway. There's a bit of a dispute about the dressing room. Scott wants the dressing room that the star of the show usually goes in, and contractually I'm the A side here. It's Frampton Quigg. I come to the ring second. I'm entitled to that dressing room. He wants it. So we've kind of come up with the idea of why not just lock the dressing room and we'll go into different dressing rooms, but I think he's very, very superstitious. He wants to be in that dressing room. It kind of shows a sign of weakness. Superstition is a weakness in my part. I don't care what dressing room I'm in, but just look.
Okay, then that's solved. So we've just.
It's a matter of principle, Scott.
It's a matter of principle. Just lock the door.
I'm the
and we'll
home
go
fighter,
elsewhere.
and I'm in the home dressing room.
You're not the
It's
star
not
fighter.
a home dressing
I'm
room.
the home dressing room.
There's nothing contractual about changing rooms in a contract.
No, there's not.
He's the home fighter.
So
It's not the
United
home
are
dressing
playing.
room.
He's the
Manchester
home
United
fighter.
are playing
He's got the
tonight.
home corner, he's the home
Showing a
fighter.
lot of weaknesses, lads, already, I'm telling you.
But thank you for accepting we can have it.
Yeah.
No, you can't. We
I
haven't
haven't
accepted
accepted
anything.
anything.
You've just said you don't know about the
Look, this is hilarious. I haven't accepted anything. Let's lock the door and we'll go elsewhere.
Gentlemen, let's not descend into too much of a slanging match. Let's speak. Scott, you care which dressing room you're in, and it's
Yes.
it's with you.
This is my arena. I'm in the home fighter, and I'm in the home dressing room. That's it.
It's not the home
That's fine.
dressing room. It's the star of the show's dressing room, the A side. That's it. It's my
This
dressing
is
room.
embarrassing.
But I'm willing to lock.
Listen, the
It's
star
embarrassing.
that
period.
couldn't even sell his tickets. That's how much of a star.
Yeah, in tickets.
That's a load of nonsense, Eddie, and you know it is.
I sold my tickets.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? Do you want me to tell you something? I actually bought tickets off Scott. I bought 10 £200 tickets off you from my mates.
How come you couldn't sell your own?
I did sell my own.
How come there been any battle arena?
There's undercard
Oh,
fighters.
there you go.
Yeah.
Scott, both sides had a
Spice
tip back,
boy,
you know
calm
what I mean?
down and no one's talking to you.
I'm right now.
We need to bring the trainers in because the fans are watching us. Sky Sports, we want to hear from them. Joe, if we could start with you. You said in an interview this week that Shane McGuigan is only famous because of his dad. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, it says what you just answered your own question.
Can you explain that for people who haven't seen
Well,
the comments?
listen, Shane McGuigan, it's well noted. There's a piece in the Mail today. He was a nutritionist. Asked could he start going in the corner with Carl Frampton and Jerry Story. Next thing you see, Jerry Story's out and Shane's in. And like you say, Shane's in the corner of Carl Frampton Saturday night. And they made loads of things. And I heard Carl say about being most popular. If Scott Quigg was to walk all over the country with Ricky Hatton beside him, he'd be very popular as well.
Shane, is there any response to you from the comments from Joe that you're only famous because of your dad?
I am. What else do you want to say? No, I respect Joe as a trainer. He clearly doesn't respect me, but hopefully after the fight he'll have some respect for me.
You said, Shane, in the build-up that your dad has been a little bit disrespected and his achievements, Barry's achievements in the ring, have been disrespected by Joe. Can you explain that one, please?
No, he said that the last time Dad was in Manchester that he was beaten, and Carl's going to, come out the same. That's his opinion. That's fine.
Joe, in terms of the fight, what weaknesses do you see in Carl Frampton that Scott Quigg can exploit in the arena on Saturday?
I feel they've underestimated Scott's boxing ability, his boxing brain. They're trying to make him a laughing stock, being usually disrespectful. I noticed the last time they were in Manchester, they were very pleasant to everyone in Manchester. Got to Belfast, they got brave and started disrespecting Scott by putting pieces of paper up and that. I think the people in Manchester weren't happy about that and they don't know what's going to hit them in that arena come Saturday night.
Shane, same question to you about Scott Quigg. Do you see weaknesses in his game that Carl can exploit on Saturday?
I think you got two world-class fighters that are legitimate, world champions, and they're going in it. And they, when you get to that top level, there's 2 or 3% in it, and I think Carl's got that extra 2%.
Let's bring in Eddie Hearn. Eddie, can you talk about the magnitude of this as an occasion? It's very rare in British boxing that we have fights where you have two world champions going head-to-head in unification fights. I think it's only happened twice in the last 23 years, and it's ever happened with undefeated fights. For everybody watching today who wonders why all their friends and everyone up and down the country is talking about this fight, just put it into context for us.
Well, I think this is special. This is a special event. People ask me if this was bigger than Froch against Groves too. And I said yes it was, because on a global scale I believe it is. I think it's with more broadcasters. Of course we have to thank our partners in America, Showtime Sports, who are transmitting the fight live. And I think this is a special event. As I look down the table and see Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton and the two pieces of fine jewellery that sit in front of them, it makes me proud, and I think everybody on this table proud of the job we've done, despite the banter and despite the rivalry, that we managed to make this fight happen. I said before that I really feel it's fights like this that can ignite the sport, that can keep the sport alive. And if we don't make fights like this, you'll see the sport die. And on Saturday night, I think one thing that's been underplayed particularly is the atmosphere that will be generated in this arena. You know, we've seen some great atmospheres. Carl Froch against Lucien Butte was for me one of the special nights. Ricky Hatton against Costa Tszyu in the same arena. I think this eclipses all of it. Huge passion and everything on the line, and that is what elite level sport is all about. Both fighters desperate to win, both good blokes, both tremendous fighters. Unification for the IBF and the WBA title, it doesn't get any bigger.
Barry McGuigan, Carl's manager, whilst there may be differences on both sides, do you in some ways echo what Eddie just said about the magnitude of this as an occasion?
Well, she's absolutely spot on. It's a huge fight. There's never been a fight of this magnitude with super bantamweights in Europe. I think it's very difficult, and it's always difficult to compare to the great Mexican fighters, great American fighters. But it's definitely got it's got this sort of Morales Barrera rub to it. They have to prove yet, both of them, that they can fight as good as those great fighters. But it has those sort of echoes. So it's a magnificent occasion. There's a 50-50 split on who thinks they're going to win the fight. But it's a fabulous occasion. It's been building and building and building.
We've probably got about a minute left on Sky Sports News. I'd like to end on the fighters, because it's all about you two guys on Saturday night when we get into the ring. Carl, for you first of all, a final message to Scott Quigg in terms of what you want to say to him before the fight.
I don't really want to say anything to him, if I'm being honest. I don't know what to say.
To the people watching and
Well, okay, to the people watching, tune in. It's going
fans watching at home.
Yeah, just same again. It's everybody tune in. It's going to be a great fight, and it's one that absolutely perfect. And I'm going to prove I'm the best super bantamweight.
Guys, thank you very much. That's the end of our broadcast on Sky Sports News HQ. Best of luck and good luck sorting the rest of it.
Thanks, Andy. Fantastic to see two winners up here, two unbeaten champions. Someone who hasn't said a few words. Let's start with Blaine McGuigan down the far end, promoter from your team. How pleased are you that this fight has been put together, and how pleased are you with the build-up to it with just 48 hours or so to go?
I'm delighted. I mean, it's the biggest fight that was out there. I think Scott would agree with that. Scott seems a little bit rankled by me. I don't know why. He's tutting away. Got a question for Scott though. You've been going on about Carl's weight for the last couple of weeks, right? What's it going to be like making 10 pounds, from the weight that you weigh on the weigh-in on the morning of the fight? What's that going to be like? Because you've never done it. I know Carl's done it 7 times. So we've talked about weight before. What are you going to say to that?
You've got a pair of chops on you, aren't you?
I just want to know.
It's irrelevant.
But you've never done it, Scott. Is that a new experience?
Is that what you're banking on?
No, I'm just
You
interested.
must be struggling. What are you doing up here?
I'm the promoter.
Asking questions like that, come on.
I'm the promoter, mate. Eddie can tell away as well. No, I'm delighted about the fight. I'm really delighted.
Shane, how important is it to you? You built up a really good stable down in London. We saw earlier the likes of Conrad Cummings, Josh Taylor, really good kids on the card. Real talent coming out of your gym, obviously. David Hay, George Groves as well. How do you feel it's been for you as a young trainer coming through, and how much of a part do you think you'll play on Saturday night as the battle, edges through?
Yeah, it's, at the end of the day, you're only as good as your fighters, and I'm lucky to have a fighter like Carl Frampton to showcase himself as a fighter and myself as a coach. And with the guys like David and George in the gym, they've brought a new level for Carl to the game, and he's sort of looking at what they do, and it's just nice to see what other people do and how they prepare themselves. And obviously the likes of Conrad Cummings and Josh Taylor and Josh Butcher and stuff all coming through, bouncing off each other and just pushing each other in the day. every day in the gym, and it's just he's flying, and it's brought him to another level.
And I know you're particularly close to Carl. You know, you live together. You're good mates as well. Have you ever seen him in better physical?
He's in the best shape of his life. He's mentally very assured of himself as well. But he has to be. You know, Scott Quigg is. He justifies that. He justifies the best Carl Frampton, and that's why it's going to be the best him on the night.
Shane, you said that you have plenty of respect for Joe Gallagher. Does that go two ways, Joe? What do you think of Shane's development as a trainer, really, when you look at him?
First of all, thanks everyone for coming, Manchester. Before I answer your question, Adam, there's just a few people I'd like to thank that's helped Scott Quigg on his journey here to where he headlines this Saturday night at the arena. First of all, Brian Hughes, Pat Barrett, all the boys up there at Colhurst and Moston. I'd like to thank the promoters in the past, Wally Dixon, Ricky Hatton, and of course Eddie Hearn and Sky for getting behind Scott Quigg. Without them, Scott Quigg won't be here where he's sat here today. In answer to your question, Adam, listen, Shane McGuigan, it's well noted what I've said. Everything else, you're only as good as the kids you got. I've seen him behind the gloves, he said he's been training him for 6 years, but I remember at the press conference when he turned pro, Carl, Jerry Story was the main trainer. So it's a bit cringe. He's done well in the 2 years that he's with him, but don't be trying to take someone else's plaudits away for the work that they did with him.
Can I just
let me finish. No, let me finish. You're not in control. You're not in Belfast. We're in Manchester. Okay, I'm going to speak. Okay. Also on top of that, Shane, obviously David Hay, George Groves, they've joined him, and like I say, that you can't judge Shane McGuigan yet. It's well noted. Been coaching since the age of 23, 24 as an amateur and pro, and there's a lot made about Shane, but you just got to look at the stable of fighters that I have at the moment. You've got the 4 Smith brothers, all won 4 British titles, Anthony, a great title. So that's not for me to answer, as people, the boxing experts out there, to say that. In the same way, the question was never asked to any other coaches regards me on the way through. It's them to answer that question, not me.
But Joe, do you respect the other corner going into the biggest fight of your life for Scott Quigg?
Well, listen, I respect anyone that puts the time and effort into developing fighters. It's a
Answer the question.
I am answering it, Barry. Let's not turn into the Barry show. You'll have your turn in a minute. What I'm saying to is I respect all trainers that put the time and effort in developing children from grassroots level to professionals, because trainers put more in than fighters do. Like Shane now, he has 5, 6 fighters. That means more time away from the family and everything else. So on that side, as a boxing coach, yes, I respect him.
Thanks.
Thank you. Long way to answer the question, but nonetheless, thank you, Joe.
Some thank yous from that side, that's good. Eddie, it's a massive fight at the start of another massive year for British boxing. How important is it that it is a classic on Saturday night? And deep down, do you think it will be?
Yeah, I can't see anything other than a great fight. You can't, I don't think you can ever sit there and know for sure how a fight's going to play out. But when you've got 2 fighters as talented as Scott and Carl, and so much on the line, so much passion from teams, from fans, then generally you get something very, very special. And I think that's what we're going to get on Saturday night. I think I want to thank you, and I want to thank Barney Francis at Sky Sports, because without their investment in boxing, fights like these would never get made. And I know it's boring sometimes to talk about money, but it's our jobs as promoters to make sure these guys leave the sport as wealthy as possible. And there has never been, and there will never be, 2 paydays like this from the super bantamweight division. And one of the most pleasing things as a promoter in this fight is that 2 smaller men get the opportunity to see the limelight and the money of this magnitude. And I think that shows how good they are. That shows you what kind of place British boxing is in, that we can produce these fights and these numbers that can blow the minds of our friends in America, who, when they realise how much these guys are making, everyone realises that, this is actually the place to be, rather than people supposedly thinking they need to crack it in America. So it's great for British boxing, and I'm glad we're nearly there.
The super bantamweights often give us high class, high skills, high tempo fights. Barry, you mentioned, of course, Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera, the trilogy they had. That first fight was utterly memorable. Do you think this could go down in the pantheon of greats, certainly that these shores have dished up?
Yeah, we don't know. I think Carl is a superior fighter in every department, and of course they're not going to be too happy with that. But I think he'll be too good for him. But you never know. It might be. You know, you look at the likes of Wilfredo Gomez, Junior Jones, phenomenal super bantamweights, and these two guys have to prove that they're as good as that. You know, you can't put them in the same rank as them just yet, but you know, there is a potential there, and there is a potential to be a great fight. I hope it's a great fight for the viewers.
And Eddie mentioned the little guys. I mean, you were a featherweight, of course. Nassim Hamad was a wonderful entertainer and a fabulous puncher. We had such a ride with him. The glamorous heavyweights are always talked about, but is it terrific that the spotlight is on these guys, the 8-stone tenders?
You look back to the likes of, I mentioned Wilfredo Gomez, Salvador Sanchez, Azuma Nelson, Nassim Hamad coming through the ranks, Wilfredo Gomez, Wilfredo Vasquez. There's so many great Latino fighters and American fighters in the featherweight division that were just sparkling to watch, and you just couldn't take your eyes off them.
And they need a dance partner as well, don't they?
They all do.
Two to tango.
That's the thing.